Okay, we're going to call this council workshop in order, Wednesday, November 15th, time is 2 p.m. Now time for visitor comment. This is an essential part of government local meetings. Each person has 3 minutes to speak. The city council will take all input into consideration, however, in observance of Oregon open meeting laws. This isn't a time for dialogue, but rather a time for us to listen to you and take notes of action. If you'd like to participate, please come up and state your name for the record.
I'm Colleen Over.
We know Halloween Town.
Hi. For those of you who don't know, Queen of Halloween Town. So I want to talk about Halloween Town really quick. This year was absolutely phenomenal. It was probably the best organized and most fun year we've ever had. I met folks from Paris, France, who barely spoke English, but had a child so young they'll never remember, but this was mom and dad's bucket list. I met a family of 7 from Australia who came out and were here for an entire week, even though there was nothing going on during the week. I met a gal from Arizona who every time that she saw me, she cried because she never thought in her wildest dreams that they'd be able to come out here, and her husband made it so that they could. And she never in a million dreams thought that she'd be able to meet me because she's been following the Facebook page that I manage for the last 9 months. And she never dreamed that I would be the first person that she met when she came. And she was, and it was absolutely amazing. The only downside that I found this year was the parade. And the thing that bothered me the most about it was how absolutely awful Heather and her organization were treated. The fact that our police chief sat here and lied while you all had the information in front of you, proving that he knew exactly what was going on with the parade, and proving that he told the state police no, that they did not want the 20 bicycle officers to help with the parade because he didn't want that in his town, but he wasn't willing to do anything about it. And you had it in writing and nothing was done. And for him to be able to attack a citizen who was given so freely and so much of her time. And I can tell you honestly, I have no idea who Heather Everly is. I've never met her. All I've seen is posts online, and I know the volume of work that she's had to do to put that parade on because I've been watching it online. And what we see online is only a very tiny fraction of what's happening. And I know I don't have much left. So I'm going to put out a call, and I'm going to put out a call to you. Because I know that you, Rick, have been speaking to people in the community and trying to encourage them to take over the parade. And I am putting out a call to you to do it. I have voted for you and voted for you and voted for you. And I think it's time for you to put your money where your mouth is and do something so huge for this community. Because as mayor, you should not be willing to ask someone else to do something you yourself are not willing to do. And if I had the time, and if I had my own company, and wasn't spending all my time looking for a job, I would be doing that parade as best that I could. I do what I can. It's not as much as some others, but it's what I can. And I just feel that, okay, I just feel that what she did was so monumental. And what her company and her volunteers and the people that she could get were so monumental to this town, that I think that it does need to be picked up. And I think it would be amazing if you did it, because honestly, I think you're one of the few people that could, free of politics, manage to do this event. Thanks, guys.
Okay. You state your name, Ed. I know you, but
I gotta get this to the distance that I can read it.
okay.
My name is Ron Tromlins. The city administration has never responded or contested any verbal or printed statements concerning the 2 million gallon reservoir rehabilitation. They have had many opportunities to offer objections. Statements not contested or responded to by the city is a notice of agreement that they are considered factual. I consider I continue to present facts that have been copied and referenced from the city's own records. The truth is in the words, and the words are from the documents. I believe in relating information about the 2 million gallon rehabilitation that has been shaded by this city. November 2nd and November 16th, 2022, I was in a city council meeting seeking a copy of the Walker Consultants report to the city. This was a March 1st, 2022 investigation of the 2 million gallon reservoir rehabilitation failure that was being denied. The Walker report was to provide an explanation for the failure to the city. This report is John Walsh did not want released. This Walker report consultants involved the city beginning March and April of 2021, but Walker didn't enter the reservoir until March 1st of 2022. During the November 16th, 2022 council meeting, the mayor told me that there was no smoking gun and it wasn't going to discuss it with me. When you look up the term, it is an English term and it was stating that there's no damning evidence. The mayor is avoiding some very informative information. The facts were there to inform anyone that the city has been a party and shares responsibility for the rehabilitation's failure. During the break in the 4 o'clock break in the November 16th, 22 council meeting, I was approached by a person who gave me a message that I needed to quit probing the 2 million gallon reservoir rehabilitation failure. I was told that I was irritating some people and parties with deep pockets who were considering suing me, and I was going to lose my house and everything I own. I sent a letter to the Spotlight with the message that I received. They asked if I would rewrite the letter, eliminating that section involving suing. A newspaper was worried about the statement involving suing or litigation. This brings into question which party is most concerned by my emails, letters, and verbal comments. This situation will be continued, noting those parties involved. Thank you.
Visitor comments.
Brady Freeheim. I have I'm here about the dirty dirt deal. The question for me is, number one, the person has now put a plaque up near that property showing a building being built on the property that he, I guess, assumes he's going to get at some point in time. That concerns me because you chose not to accept that proposal. But yet he's obviously planning on building something on property that does not belong to him. And of course, the dirt's there, so it's like, what are you gonna do? They pay for it. I mean, something's gonna have to happen. I don't know how you make it right, frankly. You're probably not gonna answer me, but clearly you have to figure out something because the dirt's there. It's like, well, what do you do? So that concerns me, and hope that the fact that you tried to sort of backdoor this in doesn't create any more of that, and that you do that in a way that is equitable moving forward. However, it's going to be that you make it public about how you're going to solve that problem, and let the guy know that you don't have the property, and so you probably shouldn't be putting up a building design showing that the building's going to go on that property. The last thing I do want to echo is about Halloween Town. I think it was a great event. I want to thank our tourism director for doing another wonderful year, doing a great job. But echo what Colleen said about the police chief. I am concerned that he did say that he knew nothing about it. Clearly, that's not true. There are things I think he could have said that may have been an impediment to why he did not want to get involved in this parade, but what he said here on the record was factually false. And you guys have all those records, you have all those emails. And I don't think it's okay that the police chief comes on public and attacks a local business owner with documentation that then she can say that, no, you've known for a long time that this was going on. And the fact that he would even make the comment that, oh, I assumed there was going to be a parade. but didn't know anything about it, when clearly the person that he had assigned to be the point person for the parade had been there and had been in the email chain since June. So, that is a concern for me and that you need to address, I think, with your chief. Thank you.
Any other visitor comments?
Chief Tobit here. Last council meeting, I praised the recorder for the accurate reporting my comments. The minutes of the October 18th, which are not accepted in a regular session of the council today, are a lie. Kathy St. John Walls, who received visitor comments, removed 85% of what I said. The comments were critical to some of the attitudes and procedures of how the city administration and council works. Basically, my free speech rights were violated and the ability for the public to review what I said was removed. The local news this past week announced a large sum of money had been given to the city by a company to allow it to buy some city property. If a reasonable deal could be worked out, the city would receive. Reasonable could not be worked out, the city would receive some of this money. There has been no public meeting stating that the city property is surplus, or statement of what the property is worth, or announcing to all the interested parties that the city is interested in selling this property. Basically, the money appears to be a bribe to eliminate proper procedures for selling city property. This is similar to the free vacation at a Mexican timeshare that a city council member enjoyed on being the driving force for selling a portion of the mill to a grow operation. The portion of this property has been under litigation. No public statement on how much money the city has received for a portion of this property. And the fact that one time this portion of property was listed as not owned by the city is an interesting condition arrives. First, the company that wants to buy the facility needs the total property. So it buys some from the city of St. Helens and the rest from the other company. Now, the other company, which the record does not show having paid anything to the city, can pay nothing, leaves. Or pays a small amount that it owes to the city and leaves with a large profit. The city, because of its large amount of legal costs, losing money on the deal. Two thoughts I leave with you. No one is more hated than he who speaks the truth. When you have something to say, silence is a lie. Thank you.
You're on Zoom, you need to raise your hand so we can acknowledge you, and then we'll ask you to unmute yourself. Maybe just a minute. Anything? Okay, we're gonna move on to our first item on the agenda, which is a length of service recognition for Colton Edwards. Colton is one of our officers, the St. Helens Police Department. He has 5 years with the city of St. Helens. And he's been a huge asset to our community. He's lived here all his life, I think, right? Yeah. Yeah, so.
Pull them back from Scapoo. We're happy to have
You
you.
know she's gonna want, I know she's gonna want a photo here. Yeah, I appreciate it, Mayor. Definitely appreciate it, and, here's a little pin for you as well. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. And, who did we bring today? We brought my daughter. Yes?
I like your stitch shirt.
Yes. Well, congratulations. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, Colton, I know I've heard a lot of stories at my previous job as a drug and alcohol counselor about you in the community. And 90% of them were really positive, so.
I'll take 90%.
It's funny.
That's an A.
But we really appreciate you, Colton. We're lucky to have you and seeing you at the softball games with your kiddos and your family, so thank you so much for staying in St. Helens and choosing St. Helens.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I just appreciate you, the way you listen to the community when you're approached and you listen to, even sometimes it seems like the end of the world for these people that you bring on and your demeanor. So, I mean, and, you know, that's something that's learned too. And, really proud to have you as part of our department. So
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it.
okay, so let's go. We're gonna switch our number 3 item to our number 2 item. We're gonna do a semi-annual report from tourism contractor Tina Curry. The report.
So we are, doing this from basically August. We don't have to rehab everything that happened at the beginning of the year. But if you'll go to the next slide, we are kind of going down to the, end of Sand Island in August, and our final 13 nights on the river was actually 14 this year. But if you'll give us the next slide, please. We finally got our water taxi, and we had some famous people here that were riding it and enjoying everything that was happening on Sand Island. The people that rode the taxi loved it for all intents purposes. We just had really positive reviews of how easy it was for people to get on and off specifically. And being able to ride it if you're in a wheelchair, you can't get off on Sand Island, which is kind of fun to be able to get on the water.
I'm gonna say I rode that and it was a very smooth ride, and it was very amazing how easy that ramp went down and on the approach beach. So yeah, definitely was a good purchase.
The Halloween started with our haunted house, and just continuing to improve the guest experience in here. I don't know how many people got to go through it that are here at council, but the guest reaction was really positive, and every year we just add something else that seems to make people happy and anticipating it being open even if they've been through it before. The next thing that we did was the Halloween hunt. We took over 500 people to the Holton district, and on Saturdays and Sundays, they went uptown to eat. They did a scavenger hunt. They went to store windows, and the people that were involved with this, I think, had a positive outcome with increased traffic into their stores. So that the shuttle also helped with transporting people from the parking lot when we were done using it uptown on the weekends. That made it easier for people that had larger carryables like scooters or even extra large carriages for their kids. Something new we added this year was the After Dark experience, which was from 6 until 8:30 or later. And what we did is we increased the offering for the people on 4th Street so that they could continue to add more things to their houses. I don't know whether any of you went down that street, but it was really cool. I think they did a great job. Their enthusiasm is really awesome. The After Dark experience also included the big tent as well as the haunted house. So it was a really good value for families. 8 people could go for $100, which is the total deal. We also, added to our Alien Museum with, William Shatner. As well as, having just increased, intelligence going on between the alien and the people here on Earth. The new entry door system that we put at the Masonic building, both in the haunted house and in the entryway to the Alien Museum, is super awesome, and it just makes it so much easier to manage people, because when they close the door locks, but when they push it open, they're free to go. So you don't have to have a person, glued to the door to make sure people don't come in that don't have tickets. So that was a really positive experience. We have some billboards that we put in place this year. We are anticipating opening the Alien Museum and the Museum of Oddities in the January-February timeframe for people to come and visit during off Halloween timeframe. Our sponsors are continuing to support our efforts. We had Laurelwood Brewing as a new sponsor this year, and they were one of the main participants as well in the Witches Brew Festival, which was the last Friday and Saturday of the month. The highlights for the year, for this part of the year, we continue to enhance the power outlets so that we can support our vendor partners with electricity. We are putting new door locks here at the city council chambers, so that these doors are tricky, so they shouldn't be tricky anymore when people want to come in and out. We also did enhanced video surveillance this year, signage and traffic control. We increased our sand island sandcastle reach this year, and as well, we're on our way to completing the par 3 golf course. That should be for spring of 2024. We had new retail and business buildings, increasing more profits for licenses and permits and taxes once their new businesses are completed. Spilt Inc., Bistro 63, the record store, all opened for their first Halloween, as well as a new luxury hair salon opened. And also Crooked Creek was able to open in time for Halloween, even though they're not a new business. They were able to open in this district for Halloween this year. We also were able to purchase new camera equipment for the communications department and printers, and this really aids and assists people that are doing that for all the social media that is going on, which is a ton, which Crystal will enlighten you on what she's been doing with that. We have a new photo booth that we'll be using for our Christmas Ships Night. We also upgraded the train experience, and we will have new train upgrades with like cool lighting and things like that will be a part of it, that we can change the colors depending on the season. We had multiple new props that people loved and could just continue to say, oh, I love this. What will you do next time? We had new Halloween installations and signage. We updated the haunted house. We had entertainment more weekends than we've ever had. We also had Disney here with 400 people for their D23, which is a VIP event. And they loved it. We got really positive feedback from their support. We also, of course, had the 40 by 100 tent. That was one of our new exhibits for the Halloween experience. We also created new opportunities for volunteers that wanted to try to raise money for various groups. And I think we hit a record for how many different groups were involved this year and how much money they were able to raise between all the people that were involved, and it was a lot. So the support from the community and people that just want to try to raise money is really increased. We also had no problems really with restrooms this year. We record the waiting time so that we know what if we're missing out, we'll know immediately how we can correct that. But we never had anybody that waited over 5 minutes, even on the busiest time frames. We increased revenues at the store and expanded our retail space. The COI for the boat was replaced from good until February 23 to good through August of 28. The ride time back and forth is less than 4 minutes, which is really quick. Once you get on the boat, it only takes 4 minutes to even unload on the other side. Was the capacity that we were running at between 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock. The one of the things we're doing right now is we're also building a shed on Sand Island because we have a lot of assets over there at this point in time. We have generators and we have assets for water transportation and life jackets and all kinds of things that we want to not walk away. So we're building a small shed to be able to lock that up. And also it will assist us in adding new things for the summer time frame that will take place on Sand Island. The penny press is currently at the Spilt Ink Gallery and it's in the black, which is great. That takes a long time because it's 50 cents at a time. So you have to do a lot of 50 cents to make that pay back. The vending machine has been in the black and it continues to, add. I think people love that vending machine because you can hear them in the store, even if you're open. Oh, look, that is so cool. They just love the vending machine. And it is pretty neat with all its offerings. The offsite parking with the bus was just like catastrophically expensive this year. And but thank God that Cascades was, willing to work with us to use 100% of all those parking lots behind our buildings onto their property, except for the buildings that had chemicals in them. And we paid for security to manage the gate so that people didn't have to walk as far to get to the shuttles, but the shuttles are very expensive. The other thing that we're looking forward to this year are the Christmas props that are coming out in the plaza, as well as Santa coming on December the 9th with the Christmas ships. And the Christmas ship boaters are wanting to return to City Hall, so we're making accommodations for that. So the advertising campaign consisted of just gigantic numbers. We really have extraordinary amounts of reach, heard of actually, and we continue to grow our social media presence. I'm not going to talk too much about that because Crystal's going to give you a synopsis on that. But the film crew completed filming for Spirit Halloween Town, so they're in post-production now, and we'll see when that comes out. In addition, OPV did the sandcastle competition, and of course Disney brought 400 guests for the entire weekend. The thing is that nothing of this happens without a lot of other people involved, and particularly City of St. Helens staff. Public Works pitches in, so much that it's just awesome that they're able to realize that this has to get done, and they're working for the guest experience too. So the my tourism liaison Stephanie and all the volunteers, the organizations and nonprofits, you know, yes, they're volunteers, but if they didn't volunteer, we would not be able to do this. So it's great that everybody is coming together and there's more people volunteering than ever before. And, you know, we really appreciate giving us the opportunity to just continue to build this program. So if you have any questions for me, I would be happy to answer them if I can. We did better this year than last year, not by a lot, but by some. We have more expenses because of the buses and the parking.
When will we see a financial report? We have one in the works, or I know it's still pretty soon after Halloween, so it takes a while to kind of get everything, but is there one in the works?
We have,
Yeah, the audit.
yeah, but last audit from last year, it's. You see it. Having to get audited, and
When is the audit?
it's just wrapping up here, so it probably started.
Whatever you say.
Soon, whenever Tina's ready.
For questions we're gonna hear, so I just wanna see the numbers, you know, make sure we're working on getting those out and showing how well we did.
Well, I think the city last year got, a check for almost $100,000 from tourism, and that will be this, at least the same or a little bit more this year.
It'll be nice,
You get 10% of all the ticket proceeds, so.
just nice, it's nice to see it all broken down and
Yeah,
kind
you
of
don't
seeing,
get
and
that.
seeing that bus expense that you talked about, like how much did that cost you, things
Yeah,
like that.
you don't get that.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have access to that.
At
Just
least
because there's so much confidential stuff that I
Our
deal
agreement
with.
with E2C is an independent contractor agreement,
Mhm.
and the financials are audited, but they're not necessarily public, so.
We'll
The
see,
audit's public.
Yeah. so in the audit, it'll have a breakdown of kind of,
General, but not.
General, categorical, right?
So all the expenses E2C has is her expenses?
Yeah.
She bills you for them?
No, we don't bill them for any, we don't, as the contractor, we pay for 100%, or we're responsible for 100% of the revenue and 100% of the bills. And then we give you a check.
But we also have the ability to audit
Yes,
all that.
Yeah, you
We know
have.
what it is, but it's not released, well, the auditor knows what it is.
She thinks that she was talking about, we bought new cameras and different.
yeah,
things.
we pay for that. I say we, but it's not we,
So-
it's like, you know.
Oh, she runs it, we own it.
well, and I thought that based off the last contract, we changed it to where all of the ticket proceeds were going into a city account. Wasn't that what we,
It's
am
in,
I off?
I'll let John answer.
Well, they go into yes, an account managed by E2C, it's a trust account. That wanna,
Oh, I thought that we had.
they don't touch the cities. There's very few things that touch city accounts.
You still collect all of the, for this year at least, you collect all of the vendors and the sponsors and like 13 nights, vendors, they all go through the
Business
water
licenses.
department.
Business
Yeah.
licenses.
And then we just do one check hopefully where we, pay for, because we also pay, tourism also pays for the Masonic building and all the utilities, all the insurance, everything that happens that's related to tourism, has to pay for. And the way we pay for that is through raising money. So we're like an independent outlet that does everything I can to raise money so that we can pay and make sure that we can, you know, facilitate all of this and make it happen and pay our volunteer groups and buy assets like the boat. The boat was totally paid for with money that we raised ourselves. So there's no money that is coming from the city to tourism at this point in time. Or last year, or the year before, or maybe the year before that. I mean, it's been a while.
So the tourism tax, none of it goes to you anymore.
Well, that's what John's deciding, but yeah.
That's something to talk about in a new contract, some opportunities that we can.
Because I just wanna make it clear though, for anybody watching that tourism does not come out of general fund, it comes out of an extra tax that is placed on the hotel or Airbnb of visitors to our area. That is by law how a lot of cities do their tourism and have to do their, are restricted to only using those for
It
tourism.
is a special revenue fund, yes.
Yes.
So the city pays, just so you know, since you're new, for sure, and there's probably other people that still are like struggle with this idea, but. The $120,000 that E2C bills the city for the contract is tourism dollars. And from that $120,000, we then produce all of the events that happen in the city, pay for them all. And give you a check back at the end of the year. For like last year, it was like 93,000, plus we pay for any expenses that are part of tourism. And sometimes we pay for things that don't really have anything to do with tourism, but they're like necessary for us to facilitate events. Like we probably spent 10 or 15,000 easily just on electricity. And, you know, adding new power outlets on this building as well as the plaza. We put probably another $10,000 into surveillance equipment so that we know what's going on in the plaza and other parts of the city. Where we've had, you know, theft and things like that, which has definitely gone down, I wanna say. But we do have cameras, a lot of cameras that are up. And sometimes we contribute to things like the camera equipment because Crystal does so much. You know, she does a lot of different photography besides just for, you know, for Halloween Town to cover that media wise, but. You know, their camera failed, so we bought camera equipment and I just said, you just have it. It's really great equipment. So, and I'm sure she'll get great use for it from the city, but we also really appreciate having her there to take pictures.
So for me, most importantly, I want to thank the citizens for being patient this year, knowing that we have construction going on, knowing that Halloween Town was coming. Yes, there were some complaints, but invalid, you know, they have valid complaints, but I think you did a good job of trying to juggle parking and make it all work with everything that we have going on down here.
Yeah.
So I also want to thank you for that as well. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Anyone else have questions?
Just a primer for my admin report is that the ETC's contract expires at the end of this year, so if there's some decision points there we'll be discussing it up and.
It'll be on the agenda.
During the admin report, we can talk about it.
Oh, we're gonna talk about it today?
We'll just introduce it.
Oh, yeah, it's coming up.
It's coming up,
Yeah,
so we need to.
Okay.
End of the year.
Okay.
Good job, Tina.
Thank you, Tina, for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're gonna go to number 2 on the agenda list, which is communications semi-annual report. Crystal King.
I'm going to start in the same Halloween Town vein and talk about specifically about Spirit of Halloween Town communications first. So the numbers that follow are only related to media we didn't pay for or our own social media. So we did have a couple of campaigns that we worked on that were paid campaigns this year. One was with the Oregonian and the other one was with Kids Out and About, which is Portland Metro demographic. The Oregonian just sent us those metrics, which aren't included in this report. A highlight of that is we had 500,000 reach through that paid advertisement just for the Oregonian. Again, they're targeting Portland Metro area and had one of the highest click-through rates that they've ever seen in a campaign for the Oregonian. So their advertisers were really impressed with the engagement of Halloween Town, which shouldn't be surprising after how long this event has gone on. I don't have statistics for the Kids Out and About campaign, but that's targeting parents, families in the Portland Metro area. And we have an ongoing campaign, so we are running an ad for Christmas ships right now for them. That'll run up until the day of Christmas. So let's talk about media coverage. This is our unpaid media coverage statistics. Does not include our social media, like our own social media. So it includes anytime we have a couple of media trackers that I use to monitor this. So anytime Spirit of Halloween Town or St. Helens comes up, I keep a log of all of that. So this year we had 413 million impressions, so almost 500 million impressions. This is particularly impressive because it almost matches last year's numbers. And if you will remember, for those who were on council last year, we had Sunmade that was here last year. So they had an entire month-long campaign in October centered in St. Helens at Spirit of Halloween Town. So they're a nationally recognized brand. They are top worldwide in their field that were running their own campaign. So we benefited from their campaign. So when you look at the numbers from last year, which came in at a little over $500 million, we pretty much were on par with that this year without partnering with a brand like that. So that's pretty impressive. So where do we show up? Usually in media coverage, television, newspaper, radio, magazines, online. You can see we're well covered in all of the local Portland metro area. We had about half of the US states in the country that had some kind of a news coverage of Spirit of Halloween Town showing up. And internationally, you can see we showed up a lot in Canada because we're obviously very close to the Canadian border. But usually we'll show up in somewhere in Great Britain. And then it's always a surprise every year. Like this year was India, France, and Malaysia that ran articles. And then of note, besides our local, Oregon local, in Travel and Leisure on Yahoo, People Magazine, USA Today, and MSN this year. We had 3 of the 4 Portland Metro TV stations come out for morning live segments in Spirit of Halloween Town. That usually involves Tina and me coordinating with entertainment to come so that we have interesting visual things to show them while they're here. They're usually here extremely early in the morning, so sometimes coming out like 4:30 in the morning to be there while they do live segments throughout the morning, which could usually takes 2 to 3 hours for them to get through all of that. And then going about your normal day, doing all of that too. So let's talk about our social media for Spirit of Halloween Town now. So we have a Facebook account, Instagram account, and a Twitter account. So for our numbers combined, we have about 138,000 followers on those accounts combined. We increased our followers by about 6,500 this year and reached almost 800,000 people through that and engaged about 100,000. So reach is how many people put eyeballs on what they saw. Engagement is how many people are either they're interacting with it. So they're clicking on it, they're liking it, they're sharing it, they're commenting on it. Engagement is the number that you really want to see because it means somebody's interacting with your stuff. And a little snapshot of what the social media workload looks like for Spirit of Halloween Town. So I looked at everything while the event was running, so the week it started through the end of October. We had 681 direct messages from people just through social media. We had over 3,000 comments, and that averages out to about 78 people that are like commenting on a post or direct messaging us every day that somebody should be putting eyes on as an admin to make sure that we don't have questions that need answered. Obviously with the direct message it's almost always that we have to answer some kind of a question that they have, but oftentimes in those posts, and sometimes it can be weeks later, somebody's commenting on it, asking a question. It's a really impossible workload, really, to be honest, to keep up with. And that is what it is like. Tina answers a lot of them. I do my best to answer as possible, but we've got other stuff to go on. I mean, social media for an event this size, it's really more than a full-time job just for the social media. So we do the best that we can. I mean, we have great engagement and reach, but yeah, stuff definitely gets missed. You can see here a breakdown of some of the top cities where people are engaging in our accounts or follow us. So we like to see that it's, Portland, Vancouver and Salem, that we don't want St. Helens to be the top city showing up here. So you can see that we're doing really well in engaging people in the surrounding areas on our pages. And that's all I have for Spirit of Halloween Town. Does anybody, before I move on to just everything else in the city, do you have questions about media or communications for the event?
Great job. I wish I could give you another person.
Okay. We could use a whole team of people, honestly, like. When you think about, like.
Going live and videos and content, yeah.
Yeah, the media, and it's like, I curate every year, I update like our photos and our videos. We have a press kit so that if media contacts us, that's ready to go. So I only need to send a link. And it facilitates that. I usually start working on that in about August because that's when inquiries start rolling in for Spirit of Halloween Town. But as far as the general public goes, we have people immediately after the event is done that are already sending us messages asking like, what are the dates for next year? Like, when should I book my tickets?
coming?
Yep, who's coming? When are they coming?
So we had a famous TikToker walking around here too. And I forget his name, but a lot of people knew who he was and he was live walking around. So,
I forgot his name.
so there's something that we're also missing too, is the TikTok.
She's gonna need another person for TikTok,
Yeah.
okay? I'm telling you, that's a
Yeah.
whole thing too.
Well, and then something else to consider is, all of these accounts, even though they're related to events, they're city owned because we own the brand, and that involves public records and retention laws, and we pay for that stuff, and it's very expensive. So the more we add, we really have to think about like, do we want to add and do we want to pay for what it costs in archiving services?
There was quite a few people that knew him as the TikToker with the
Yeah.
approach, so.
It's great when famous people show up and advertise for us, like,
Yeah.
and that's something that, this stuff doesn't capture is, all the influencers that come, that take pictures and tag us
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, cause that's probably maybe even more than what we have for reach on their own privates.
So 1,000%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those guys don't have jobs, that's what they do.
No,
I mean, that is-
Oh, the TikTok, I'm telling you, yeah,
And not just the TikTokers though, but my Facebook account, I put it on, and I looked at this, but or maybe I just glanced at it, I didn't actually click and engage. Okay, I'm gonna go see it, I take pictures of it, I put it up, free advertisement to all my friends. For Halloween Town, that's not being recorded.
That's why we encourage people to tag us and stuff, because it is free advertisement for us. Occasionally on Instagram, like I'll share stories as people tag us throughout the weekend or during the week in that, and it encourages people to tag us, and then it is free advertisement that we're taking advantage of. So yeah, that is one strategy among a lot when it comes to managing social media.
This is a lot too, so let's talk about.
So yeah, let's do everything else that isn't Spirit of Halloween Town that goes on during the week. So for Councilor Hubbard, who's new, what else does city communications do? What does that mean? We have me, that's the one full-time person, and we have Cameron, who is our part-time. They also work at the library part-time, so they're a half FTE for communications. Cameron mostly focuses on, don't want to call it like the drudgery stuff, but the stuff that keeps things moving. They do our newsletter, our city newsletter. I put hands on it and I review it every time, and I make recommendations for what needs changed and make sure that they stay on top of that stuff. They also do our social media for the most part. So they're responsible for making sure like we're meeting our required algorithm posts to make sure we keep showing up in people's feeds. But occasionally I'll jump in if there's something that needs to get done, like today. Public Works emailed about fall leaves. So I just jumped in and took it on myself, like, okay, we're gonna make another post about reminding people don't
Can you
pull
make
stuff.
the comment with the post with
Yes.
the balloon?
Yes.
Wow, that was smart.
Yeah.
It's funny.
My chance to be creative occasionally. Yeah. So what do? We are the communications for every department and division in the city. We help out everybody. We do the press releases, website updates when people need help with the website. We do all of the city's photos, all the videos. We do media requests, social media, newsletters, and any assistance with events that we put on. So this report covered, oh, Kathy, can you go back? This report covers the last 6 months, so it runs May through October. So during that time period, we put out about a press release every 5 days or so. So that's about like once a week that we were putting out a press release for the city. About 7 social media posts a day. And we have social media accounts for, you know, the city in general, which includes public works and admin, library, rec. Rec sometimes handles some of their own stuff, but they run a lot of stuff through us and we'll occasionally jump in and help them when they need something posted, and then the library. I handle all the media requests. We get about 1 media request per day. I could go a week and not hear from the media at all, and there are some days, John can attest to this, I have like 5 or 6 requests that I have to review that we have to respond to. And sometimes that's not like an easy 2-second answer. Some of those can take quite a bit to get a bunch of information from different staff and figure out how we're going to respond to that. And then we put out 20 newsletters in the last half year. So that's about 1 every 6.5 days. We have 2 newsletters. We have the city's general one that comes out twice a month. And then we have one that we launched last year that's specific to waterfront redevelopment. So the 2 big projects that are usually ongoing, we have waterfront redevelopment and Spirit of Halloween Town in this last half year. Spent about 30% of my time dedicated to both of those combined. And then Cameron additionally, I didn't include that, but they spent an extra 53.5 hours on those projects in this last 6 months. Some other highlights from the last 6 months were all of our summer events. You know, this is sort of the first year that stuff really feels back to normal post-COVID. So we saw a lot of stuff back to like normal attendance, normal feel with people showing up to things. Additionally, Rachel, Barry, and Suzanne at the library and John went to a couple meetings. We, as the city, sort of convened an extreme weather group of both government entities in the regional area, but also some partner agencies like CCMH representatives and CAT, because we have sort of become the de facto cooling center organization for St. Helens. So this year we actually partnered with the senior center and we did activate once them as a cooling center location. But we worked on that throughout the summer this year, and we'll see some of that same stuff transition into this winter as we talk about needing winter children, which we are way less hands-on about that because we obviously don't have facilities that are open overnight or ones that have the capacity for that. But that is a group that was, convened this year that will, ramp up again when it comes to hot weather showing up again next year. I mean, this is a chronic issue that we're seeing with warming happening, that we know it's going to be happening every year now. We know we're going to have fires. We know we're going to have extremely hot weather at some point. We also had a trunk or treat booth again this year at the sheriff's office. Thank you to Councilor Sundin for helping to man that along with Cameron. And we had several grants that we were able to announce this last 6 months. We had a couple come in for city projects, but we also had some big ones, like the rec center had a big one in partnership with the school district, but then some other like engineering community development ones that came in. We got our new canine and passed its certification, so we got to announce that this last 6 months. And one of the things that took longer than you might appreciate was the Mill Street renames for the store. Right? Yeah, well, oh my goodness. And then what's coming up next? We obviously have Christmas Ships Parade and tree lighting that will be happening in a few weeks. We're sort of waiting until next week to start talking about that because we don't want to usurp Thanksgiving, but it is coming soon. It's I think in 3 weeks. We'll have winter weather messaging that's on the horizon. We always have stuff ready to go for frozen pipes and how to winterize things, what to do if your meter's frozen when we get, when we get that stretch of a week of, if we get really frigid temperatures, people's meter boxes and meters start to freeze, so we have messaging ready to go about that. We will brush up on our where to get your sandbags if there's major flooding events, and then, coordinate with figuring out what local agencies are doing about winter weather, so we can direct people to the right spot when they have questions about that. We've reached out to 2 of the counselors about doing some government PSAs sort of, or government 101 videos. So we've already met with Counselor Chilton, and we're working on meeting with Counselor Sundin about that. But we have a list of projects moving forward that we've identified some low-hanging fruit that we want to move forward with, doing some short videos just to educate the public about things that they don't know. And it's not their fault that they don't know. Government's complicated, but there's easy ways, like how do you get your voice heard by a counselor? Like, what are some easy ways to talk to a counselor? What does a project, what's involved in a government project from start to finish to make something happen? So we'll be working on those in the next 6 months. Additionally, I met with Public Works last week. I met with all the managers, and we're going to be doing some highlights on Public Works and the heavy load that they lift in making the city run. And we're moving into budget season. We know it is not a great budget year that we're looking at, so anticipating maybe having to do some messaging about the budget this year. That's all I have. Do you have any questions about the other stuff? Everything else?
I'm always having a great report.
Yes, communications in generally has grown so much over the years, where it started off as a halftime effort, and our numbers it's really paid dividends. How not only how we see each other, but how the outside world sees us. And Halloween is a really big deal. And
Yeah.
now, we are identified from the outside world as Halloween town. Oh, you're the community with.
Well,
I mean, 1,000%. I can't tell you the number of times we show up as like a top 10 or a top 5 destination spot where it's in a publication where they don't even reach out to us anymore. They just like grab a picture off of our social media and list something, and I only see it because it's flagged in a media tracker. So, it's something where it's like, it's a life of its own at this point.
Well, and what I like is just that we seem to do this really well compared to even bigger cities. And usually what happens in even sometimes bigger cities is the mayor takes that role, and that's not always good because that's not a unified message. That's just one person, because we know that it's a we, not me. And I think that's the benefit of having her in that position is we put that unified message of we through our communications as a city as a whole. So it makes a big difference, in my opinion.
It's a very deliberate effort to speak with one voice.
Yep.
You make a really good point. When we go to like League of Oregon cities and stuff, like I look at other cities, really big cities too, and they are not doing communications like we are.
No.
So hats off to you.
Surprised, like sometimes I'll look at other local government agencies, like Portland is a really good example of, I have a hard time finding them on social media. I mean, the mayor's office, again, like a lot of bigger cities have a mayor's office that has a message coming out. They're very visible, but like I don't see the city itself. Yeah, the parks might have its own, but it's like, I don't see like a city of Portland, like where's their messaging?
Yeah. It makes a big difference too, I think.
Well, and I think it makes a difference when you have these bigger media outlets reach out and then it's like, well, you work with our communications, Crystal King, and then they get with her and she's very professional and actually it's usually sometimes my experience has been when I've been interviewed is it was the other people who messed up on the links or whatever. And but it just makes it so much easier too, just to be able to allow that to be all set up. And like what you guys are getting ready to do is great. Just allow them to set it up and then speak that message and let people know how government works. Vitally important. Yeah. So. Yeah, good job. Okay, our next item is a request for donation for Toy and Joy auction. So obviously it's came to you, John. And on to us.
My piece of it was the
with the actual that right there.
That was the tables, if they're having toilet auction.
Oh, yeah,
Council
yeah,
wanted to do the tables.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's
that's right.
also a donation that we've done over the last several years. We'll give credits on that, $100 towards the city.
Oh, water bill, yeah.
That's actually a really good one. I think that would help a lot of
We've
people.
done two.
So do we wanna get a couple tables there? There are 8 top tables. for-
When is it?
It is December 2nd or 5th. Whatever that Saturday is.
December 2nd, 4 o'clock.
So yeah, we'd like to go.
I'd like to go.
That'll be the first question. Anybody busy? I'd like to go. I think I will.
Probably be on the PUD one.
No, the period.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you
Well,
better
that-
sit with them, huh?
No, that would allow us to get one table with a guest. Because there are 8 top tables.
So you're saying what now?
Well, if you're in PUD, that will allow us four here, or no, 5
Oh,
actually.
okay.
What's the one work out?
We'll still need 2 tables.
So we'll get 2 tables?
Yeah.
So,
That's up to you. Yeah.
I think so.
I think 2 tables and then if we have some spare seats, invite some.
Yes, we're holding the seat for you. At our table.
On your way.
Yes, very good. And then, at least, I think 2 of those $100 raffles. They pretty much get their face back most of the time. Couple $100 donation to put into it.
That's good.
That'll come out of our council funds. Okay, all right, let's go on to the segue right into your report, John.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Yep.
So just a reflection on Veterans Day last weekend on Saturday, there, the celebration I had at the Performing Park. That's a lot for the city to be proud of there, with what's happened with the plaza over the years and their investments and grants of, getting the plaza, adding the monuments, the new flag pavilion. Councilor Sundin was recognized for his good work and doing all the research and all there. I knew you were involved with it, but understanding the extent of it, it's not like it's pretty.
Big time.
Yeah.
Daunting effort, so thank you for that, but we received a resolution that city of Rainier recently passed, and it's something we don't do a lot of, is taking positions on different things, but the political positions that the city of Rainier passed a ballot measure opposing measure 110, and they sent it along. I sent it along to you. If there's an appetite for the council to that arena, there are several moves afoot, including former Senator Betsy Johnson is leading a coalition, pushing that effort to try to make some tweaks or
Reform.
reform.
Not a
This is exactly.
Yes. But there's another movement at the state level for the repeal of 110 too.
Yes, there's several things happening around that.
Cause it's not working, is what most people agree with.
Project Sprint, our solar opportunity at the mill site, continues to be a very consuming effort with a lot of good work. Myself, Paul Vogel, his Columbia Economic Team, and all the whole state regional solutions teams, the governor's office, Portland General Electric, PUD, we're all meeting several times a week to kind of talk about the issues, what it's going to take to bring land this big opportunity, which would be really transformational as far as job creation, tax base, and utility consumption. Would solve a lot of our woes, and we're not there yet, but it's still positive. And the 90-day letter of intent runs through the year.
Talk a little bit more on that. The 90-day letter of intent is not a purchase or sale agreement in any way, shape, or form. It's doing due diligence of just looking at the property. It's a due diligence of before you would do land acquisition of.
That is
Everybody
correct.
would do.
It's not a purchase and sale agreement. It's
Kind of like
or lease agreement.
which
or-
is refundable.
We're just working to see if they can get a project like that permitted here. We meet at this point, it's just meeting the infrastructure needs.
Yes.
I mean, we meet the infrastructure needs. And that's not just electrical, water and sewer, it's workforce, it's training, they're taking a really broad look at if, this project can be successful here.
I just want to speak a little bit on that though, because I know there was some stuff said in
Yeah.
the comment that was not
Thank you.
right.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, well, I kind of took it personally, so.
So within those 90 days, we will have a clear direction about if we're gonna move forward or we're not.
If they are,
They're gonna move forward.
yes,
I just wanna make sure.
Beyond utilities, we need to get anything else going.
there'll be, probably some wetland stuff. I mean, there'll be a number of moving parts. And that's when the real work starts, if it's doable.
And in the work that we've done, we haven't identified any fatal flaws other than not meeting their energy requirements.
Yeah.
And that's the big one, and then everybody's working on it, and which is exciting, because it's been hard over the years to kind of get the big players to the table and take it seriously. They are. So with Cascades closure, Lori and I have been working to understand the ramifications of what it means when they leave financially, and really put a point on it. And, it's just like, how does it impact our budget, and when, and just the order of magnitude. I think Kathy's gonna put up a memo right now that, and this wasn't advanced, and this certainly won't be the last time we're talking about it. But, I just want to introduce what Cascades leaving means to our city budget, and most importantly, the general fund. So you look up on the screen there, it's also in your packet there. So it's about 1.4 million all in. And that includes the 364,000 to the general fund, 300,000 to the community development. What that is that's the lease payments they were paying before, which goes into community development, which is a special revenue fund that funds basically manages the operations of the mill site there. So that's going away. There's some pluses and minuses with that. We have a promissory note with Boise. The good thing about it is we don't have to pay if we don't get any revenue, so that but there is still this financial impact, because we split some of that with them. 81,000 to storm and water, and then about 570,000 to the sewer fund, which is a lot. So this year, that's going to impact us $552,000 in that fiscal year. So that's running through July 30.
My question would be this: would there be a way of putting in like some type of barrier within that lagoon, temporary, or filtration system at the end that would allow us not to run as many agitators, because it can still work in the secondary system?
My understanding, talking with Aaron Gunder's operator out there, is that those run only to the fact so that water doesn't turn septic and get all smelly. It keeps the water healthy by running the aerators. It's the minimum amount of time. So barring it being not water.
The problem is we have an oversized lagoon.
Thinking like damming up half of it,
That's what I was wondering about.
that would be possible.
Yeah, or some type of.
But that's part of the lagoon repurposing effort, is to look at that, to make it a smaller, more efficient and effective footprint, and filling it with whatever we might fill it with, river sand or whatever would make it do that. That's not part of the discussion.
And there's no temporary.
Yeah,
thing they can
I
do
was
for
just
that.
looking at the big. I know, but I just got sidetracked because of that sewer cost.
Savings would you expect though?
It's a good question. It'd be a question for Aaron, because I don't think any of us can answer it.
It's electric, basically, and
Yeah.
maintenance on some aerators. So there are, last year we started the budget, up a little bit, please. Started the budget with a deficit of about 500,000-ish. That used of our 20%, we went down to 15%, and that was against our policy, but it was determined necessary. We're not capturing it in this memo here, but the Urban Renewal Agency is also impacted by this loss of project funding. That section of the increment that goes into the Urban Renewal Agency has caused a ripple effect on the ability to fund projects, because if we're talking about funding the debt service for the Riverwalk project and the Streets and Utilities project at this point. So we've really cleaned those projects up. We talked about not doing some of the improvements to stay financially healthy in the Urban Renewal Agency and making sure we can meet our payments. And I think we're not going deep on that one today, but I think we're good for now with that. One other thing I want to talk about is over the last 3 years, we've been blessed, I'll use that close, with a lot of federal support, and we've invested that in some of that's like revenue replacement, some is hiring new positions. That money's over with at 3.3 million, and it ends and it just drops off. So it just creates this big, we knew it was coming, and it's here. And so what I wanted to.
And we're not unique in that. I mean, every county, city is gonna have that effect too.
Depending what they invested in.
Yes.
So now we can go down, Kathy, please. No. So I wanted to show you just some rough order of magnitude graphs here, and so this is our current budget. This is what's adopted in your budget manual there, and it shows the 23-24 year, 15% down on the bottom. And we're already forecasted to go from 15 to 4% without any budget changes. And that captures the ARPA. This is pre-Cascades, right? So the next graph, the title of the graph's on the top there. So this is a graph about the changes that come with Cascades. And so if we make no changes, we will be completely completed, and all of our reserves, 100% of our reserves will be gone coming into the next year. And then it gets much worse whenever we don't have any money to spend. So it's obviously never get to those negatives, because you wouldn't have to spend. So it kind of leads you to, at least in my mind, a conversation around more revenue or expenses. So we've looked at revenue, and we've looked at some expenditure reductions. And the next, and this is expenditure reductions. So this is basically spending less, and that comes in the form of however we can spend less.
Like materials? Things like that?
Materials is a very small percentage of the budget.
So we're looking at probably
Most of the budget is personnel.
personnel, that's what I was thinking.
So, if we looked at where the number was, we have about 7 months left in this fiscal year.
Looking at 6 months, so this is in a 6 month.
Yeah, so this is assuming a January 1 expenditure reduction. And that would get us
True.
well, that would get, we'd have to reduce a lot, and that would get us to 17% for a year. Then it would still tail off 9% 3 minus, and we kind of push it out just a little bit.
And my understanding is these ARPA funds actually run out at the end of the year, not our fiscal year, but our fiscal.
Our fiscal year,
Our fiscal.
yeah, we've budgeted them through our fiscal year 2024.
Okay.
The next one is a what if kind of thing. What would it take to have a new revenue? And we just put in $5 a month You know, and I don't know if this is feasible or practical or even possible. A $5 utility general services charge on the bill. And utilities bill. You go from 15% to 3% for next year. So you can see how much impact that is, how powerful industry and how much industry pays to support this community is my takeaway by reading through this, but. So that would go from 15% down to 3%, then the next year would be down again. And then we looked at revenue and the service reductions together. That's a little better. Financially anyway. 15 moves up to 17, it goes back down to 12, and it just kind of covers for the next 2 years.
Put the tax on all of them.
That's including $5 and
Clarify.
and it's pretty significant service reduction. It's not really. There's needs to be some immediate focus on it and engaging with the labor groups, engaging council, maybe it's a subcommittee of the council.
That's what I was gonna ask, is this a budget committee
So-
thing?
The budget committee's role is defined in the ORS, and it's limited to approval of, recommending approval of the budget, that's their role.
No, adjusting the budget in the middle of the year.
Could be, I mean, but I'm just saying that at its core, that's what it's about, and gonna take a fair body of work. To find a solution. And we also plugged in, which you don't see in these graphs, is one-time revenues, like taking some timber money and putting it in there, and it just disappears just really fast because it's not a recurring revenue that comes in every day to keep the budget going. I didn't want to overwhelm me with graphs, but
I'm glad you brought that up, though, because that's what I was asked about, right?
Yeah.
Where's the timber revenue? Where's the timber revenue?
So that's kind of a double-edged sword when you use one-time monies for operations. Because it overinflates your operations and it's not a continuing, there's not a continuation plan.
That being said, I think we have one more cut and timber is still high enough that would behoove us to probably get Mason Bruce Gerard here to explain and look at that because of the economy. You know as well as I do in 2008, 2009, when it started slowing down, lumber prices went too. And lumber prices are still good right now. And we have one more cut that's available. That meets that growth, because it's managed to be self-producing every 5 years.
well, it's 2,400 acres, so if you cut 1/30 of it, you know.
I think
Whether
it's,
it's every,
That's one way to look at it, but also I think you really need to pay attention to get lean and mean.
oh yeah, no doubt about that, but I
That's where
think
you can
that's,
start, and that, you know, the timber's still gonna be there in value. That's
I think-
not gonna solve the problem, really.
Yeah.
no, but I think that we should look at that last cut too, just to see.
and the Urban Renewal Agency also has its eye on that timber as being the leveler for the getting it through a couple of years here.
But it did 2 cuts. Where's that?
Oof,
It's there.
went like that.
Yeah,
That's
it's there.
what John's
No,
saying.
no,
It went like
it's
that.
there.
But
It's there.
It's been used
No, I
already.
mean, we need to discuss this. I mean, there's the money's there.
when you pay for projects, I mean, that's a one-time.
There are,
revenue,
and we
right?
also have,
Say
we
not
also
to do
have
that.
properties, we all, you know, I mean, I don't wanna, I know we always look at this and this is accurate and true. I'm not debating that, but it's always the end of the world.
This
I know that-
is different.
And I get that. But we also have a lot of assets that we acquired when times were good.
I think, Ms. Mayor, I think we should look at putting together a subcommittee with some director heads. And some council members, maybe a couple budget committee members if they wanna participate, and we need to talk about problem solving. for this. That's what I think. And maybe that is
Well,
talking about timber
and I'm
assets.
not debating that, but I'm debating that we have also throughout the years continued to purchase things. When times were good and the market's still good, both timber, both in real estate, good enough. That and we do have appraisals, we asked for 3 of them. That we maybe should probably start moving a few things because the timing is right. And rather than pinching. Because I am about being fiscally responsible and I know it's one-time monies, but it does allow us to. Supplement and it's been done before. The water bill and the sewer bill, if you wanna go historically, you wanna get back to old school. That's what the timber was there for.
Well, I don't think he's debating that. I think what he's saying is it's not gonna be enough.
No, I'm trying to make my point that we also need to be doing that as well, because if we're not,
Yeah.
we're just. That's not good stewardships of what we have and what we've done.
Yeah, I agree. All of that needs to be looked at. That's why I think we need a
Yep.
subcommittee to get together and, talk about all of it.
You were talking about adding more fees to the water.
And just to show what it looks like,
Is that.
I am too. That's why.
Yeah.
it's
You're gonna also, when you start cutting
I think, right.
things, make it harder for people to develop. You know, increase system development charges and all that sort of thing, then growth goes away.
And we already revised that and it has this little percentage that was in it.
Percent.
Yeah, well, no, it wasn't a lot. It was a lot 2 years ago. You're right, yes, there's no doubt, and it wasn't a lot compared to other cities. We had all,
That's why they moved. Everybody's moving away from that high price stuff.
and I agree, and that's why I'm talking about looking at this, our assets as a whole and not trying to get into this $5, get into this $5 adding to the water bill, not.
Counselor Sunday, do you have any thoughts?
Echo what else has been said, I think definitely something we need to start looking at.
If you start a subcommittee or something. But what I understand, we don't even have a budget committee. It isn't 3 people.
Well, I think we need department heads and I
Yeah.
think we need counselors and I think we need Gloria, I think we need, not necessarily budget committee members. I mean, maybe if someone from the budget committee would like to participate. I think that would be helpful.
All hands on deck.
We're gonna have to get a little creative and
I also,
there's gonna be a lot of talk. I wanna make sure everybody's there to speak up for themselves when we're talking about cuts in their department or whatever, so.
I mean, so. Absolutely, and that's all part of it.
Yeah.
And so also we need to look at, like, again, all our assets, we need to have that available for us too, and know what those are. And then we also get lean and mean and knowing that this is coming because of mainly Cascade, but there's a, maybe, I'm getting very irritated with also hearing mismanagement of funding when it's not mismanagement of funding, it's just the way government works. And these charts, since I've been here, have always went down. And I'm not saying this isn't real and that we've had to adjust, but that's typical government charts.
I was gonna say, I've seen Gresham's charts and Happy Valley at League of Oregon Cities and theirs all going down too.
They do. I mean, that's just because we allocate we have to spend the monies. That's the way government works. We're not in it for profit. And that's where people don't understand. You're getting a level of service. And then when the money goes away, we've allocated all that money. It's not like we're running a business. It's totally different than a business. I run a business. I had to adjust to this. It's way different. The way government funding is and budgeting than you would a business. You try to keep that 20% and hit that mark and it's difficult, correct, Gloria? When you actually lead the league on this, with your peers, so. But I just think we definitely need to look long and hard at it. There's no doubt about it.
The effect of all these capital improvements we've got on the budget.
Yeah, that's true too. Cause that hasn't been talked about, ROI. On return on investment of some of these capital
So,
improvements.
that doesn't include any kind of, new growth or
Mhm.
Are you talking about the infrastructure investments right now or
Infrastructure,
the possibilities of, you know?
everything going on. I mean, water issues you got, I mean.
Yeah,
water project.
urban renewal is, servicing the debt on those things. So we've did a really deep dive with Tiberius Solutions, with our financial consultant. Helped us out to understand where we're at and, you know, there's some growth assumptions. And there's a couple rough years here, but then it gets better. And, so that's where we're looking at these one-time revenues to help fill those gaps with timber and things to keep all of this going. The Columbia View Park, you know, not doing the stage, not doing the playground, that's gonna save, you know, several $1 million, and we'll take advantage of the grants that we have and leverage that, and that's not much of a cost, but the, you know, doing underground power is like a very important thing, and we're gonna do it or we're never gonna do it, and it's,
Yeah, it is. We need to do it.
yeah.
You need to get the utilities down there.
Yeah,
You can create maybe just 2 or 3 blocks.
right.
And then it's opened up to the private sector that says we'd like to buy a quarter block or a whole block and then put their investment in.
Thank you.
Then the road isn't gonna connect already, we've already scaled the project back to begin
Doesn't
with.
need to connect.
There's the utilities connect. And they run the block, they create the blocks in the small tentacle block there, but, there's not pavement or, you know, anything like that. We'll see it until a developer comes in and we work with them to do their street frontage and then.
That's, at least you've got the infrastructure.
Yeah, infrastructure's there, the plans are developed.
So
Ready to
sidewalks, pavement. Yeah, turn it there.
But, you're in a okay spot, funding that. Perfect, so.
Well, it's like Jessica, when we were just talking about the side, kind of amongst yourself, we're just gonna have to lead a meeting and watch, and do some cuts. I mean, that's just the way it is, but it's, you know, we're gonna be able to still give the services to our community. That won't be as noticeable. It may internally, will feel the effects.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, cities are in the business of providing services, and if we don't have funding to provide services, we just can't do it.
We're not gonna be I won't say it. I was gonna,
You want taking your loans out?
yeah, yes.
So John, do you wanna put together a subcommittee?
I was looking for your direction on what I would recommend that we have a committee.
Can we look at it, right around before it can shoot, right around, December 15th, so we had something ready to go for the year, put on that meeting. Or put out a now
Forecasting needs to happen sooner than
Well,
later.
that's what I'm saying, put education or somebody, something out, or each counselor pick somebody to bring that they think might. Benefit, I don't know how that looks, but set it for December 15th and go from there.
There's a sense of urgency with this and this.
Well, I think we also need assets, but I wanna know assets, I see a lot of information
Yeah, I think
before the
that's-
urgency, I need it in front of me too.
When do we need
I've
it,
been
John?
here, I've been here the longest and I don't know all the assets we have out there and what they are.
Just have a scoping meeting that talks about acquiring the assets, doing, you know. It's, I guess. Every month we don't do something, it gets worse.
Well, if we had an appraisal of 3 properties that we've asked for, we know that dollar amount right now. And I'm digging on you a little bit right now.
It's in process.
Okay,
Do we have 2 counselors willing to be on the subcommittee?
I'll do it.
Russ, Mark?
I could do it. Yeah. I understand finances
Okay.
enough.
And then John, department heads,
Yeah.
we'll pull everybody together, even if it's a video meeting or something, and get the ball rolling.
I know you got more in your report. That was a big one. Do you have any other things you want to cover in your report?
No.
Okay. Alright. I know you got a lot more going on. It's not that you're not busy.
Yeah, shake it.
That's why you have to. Okay, so we are gonna have, is, Rubino available? Okay. So before I adjourn,
Bill on.
okay, before I adjourn, we will be going into executive session under ORS 192.6602 E. And, eight, consulted with real property, and eight, consulting with council, potential litigation. So that we are adjourned.